Karen didn't just wreck my car. She let her own son steal it first. After he crashed my brand new vehicle into a ditch and totaled it, I thought the nightmare was over. Then she did something unbelievable. She sued me for the damage, claiming I caused her son to steal it. And that was the moment I realized this HOA Karen was about to destroy herself in court. The morning started like any other. Coffee in one hand, keys in the other, and my brand new midnight blue sedan waiting in the driveway like a prize I'd finally earned. I'd worked 2 jobs for nearly a year to afford it. No scratches. No dents. That fresh car smell still inside. I hit the unlock button. Nothing happened. I pressed it again. Still nothing. I looked up. My driveway was empty. For a split second, my brain refused to accept what my eyes were seeing. I just stood there, staring at bare concrete where my car should have been. My heart dropped straight into my stomach. No, 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 no. I spun in a slow circle, like maybe I'd parked it somewhere else and forgotten. But deep down I already knew. It was gone. I ran back inside and grabbed my phone, checking the tracking app the dealership had installed. The dot wasn't anywhere near my house. It was blinking a few miles away, moving. Someone was driving my car. I felt cold all over. I called the police, trying not to sound like I was about to lose it. As I was explaining everything, a neighbor texted me. "Hey, did you loan your car to that kid from the HOA lady's house?" My blood froze. "What kid?" "The blonde teenager. He was speeding out of your driveway about 20 minutes ago." I already knew who he meant. Karen's son. Karen was the self-appointed queen of our HOA. Loud. Nosy. Always threatening fines. Always walking around like she owned the neighborhood. And her son? A walking disaster. Loud parties, trash everywhere, and at least 2 cops visits that I knew of. I thanked my neighbor and told the dispatcher everything. By then, the tracking dot had stopped moving. That was not good. 20 minutes later, I got the call. My car had been found. In a ditch. Wrapped around a tree. Totaled. I remember just sitting down on my couch, staring at the wall while the officer talked. Airbags deployed. Front end crushed. Fluids leaking. The works. Was the driver injured? I asked. Minor scrapes. We have him in custody. And then the name. Karen's son. Apparently, he'd taken my keys right off my porch. Broad daylight. No disguise. No attempt to be subtle. Just walked up, grabbed them, and drove off like it was his. The officer asked if I wanted to press charges. I said yes so fast he actually paused. Absolutely. I went down to the station later that day to give my statement. Karen's son was sitting there in a hoodie, head down, looking more annoyed than scared. Not sorry. Not ashamed. Annoyed. A few hours later, I got another call. From Karen. I shouldn't have answered. But curiosity got me. She didn't even say hello. Why is my son being held? Because he stole my car and destroyed it. He borrowed it. I didn't give him permission. Well, he needed it. You weren't using it. I literally laughed out loud. He wrapped it around a tree, Karen. That's not my problem. I hung up. I thought that was the end of it. I was wrong. 3 days later, I received a thick envelope in the mail. From a law firm. Karen was suing me. For damages. She claimed my negligence caused her son to crash my car. That I had left the keys unsecured, which enabled him to take it. That the emotional distress and legal trouble he was facing were somehow my fault. She was demanding money. From me. For my own destroyed car. I just sat there staring at the paper, laughing in disbelief. This woman's kid steals my car, totals it, gets arrested. And she wants to be paid. That was the moment I stopped being shocked. And started getting ready for war. The lawsuit hit me harder than the crash itself. Not because I was scared, but because of how bold it was. Karen wasn't asking for a small settlement. She was demanding nearly $50,000 for emotional distress, loss of educational opportunity, and family hardship, caused by her son being arrested for stealing my car. She even claimed the crash damaged his future. Apparently, the totaled car didn't matter. My life savings didn't matter. Only her precious golden boy. I brought the papers to my insurance agent first. He stared at them for a long moment, then started laughing. "Oh, this is going to be fun," he said. According to the police report, Karen's son had been clocked going nearly 80 miles per hour through a residential area before losing control. He jumped a curb, smashed a mailbox, and slammed into a tree. The officer had bodycam footage of him admitting he took the keys off my porch. Open and shut case. Except Karen wasn't interested in reality. Within days, she was going door to door, telling neighbors I had set her son up. That I left my keys out on purpose to tempt him. That I wanted him to get in trouble. One neighbor even told me Karen claimed I was running some kind of insurance scam. That's when I knew she wasn't just delusional, she was dangerous. Then came the HOA. A bright yellow notice appeared on my door. Violation: unsecured property endangering community safety. They were fining me $250 for leaving my own keys on my own porch. Karen had twisted the story so badly that the HOA board actually voted to punish me for her son's crime. I went to the next HOA meeting, lawsuit papers in hand. Karen was already there, sitting smugly in the front row like she'd won. When they called my name, I stood up and told everyone exactly what happened. The theft, the crash, the police report, the lawsuit. Karen didn't even deny it. "He shouldn't have had access to your vehicle," she snapped. "You were irresponsible. So your son commits a felony, and you're blaming me?" I said. "Yes." The room went silent. That was when I dropped the bomb. I pulled out copies of the police report and passed them around. Then I showed the HOA board the security footage from my doorbell camera. Karen's son walking up, taking my keys, smiling at the camera, driving away. Karen's face went pale. But instead of backing down, she exploded. "That footage is illegal. You're harassing my family. I'm adding this to the lawsuit." She stormed out of the room, shouting that she was going to ruin me. That night, I got a call from my lawyer. He had already reviewed the case. "This woman has no leg to stand on," he said. "But she's not going to stop. And people like her usually end up making things much worse for themselves." He was right. Because what Karen did next crossed a line even she couldn't walk back from. And when she did, she handed me the easiest courtroom victory of my life. Karen didn't wait for the court date. She went on the attack. 2 mornings after the HOA meeting, I walked outside and found my front lawn covered in police tape. 2 squad cars were parked at the curb. An officer stood on my porch. For a terrifying second, I thought something had happened to my house. Then he spoke. "Sir, we received a report that you were involved in a hit-and-run with a minor." I nearly laughed from shock. Karen. Of course it was Karen. She had called the police claiming I had intentionally tried to run over her son after the crash, that I'd chased him down the street in a rage and clipped him with my car before he wrecked it. The problem? My car had already been in a ditch when she made the call. The officer checked the GPS data from the vehicle and the traffic cameras on the street. It took him less than 5 minutes to realize the story was completely fake. "This is a false report," he said. "And it's a serious crime." Karen had just committed felony fraud. But she wasn't done. That afternoon, I got another HOA violation. This time it was for creating a dangerous environment for residents, and they demanded I remove my driveway security camera. The same camera that had recorded her son stealing my car. That was when my lawyer got very interested. He filed an emergency motion accusing Karen of witness tampering and evidence suppression. We attached the doorbell footage, the police report, and now her false police statement. By the next morning, Karen was in full panic mode. She started texting me nonstop. "Let's talk. We can work this out. You're blowing this out of proportion." I didn't respond. Instead, my lawyer forwarded everything straight to the court. Then came the bombshell. Karen's son had admitted under questioning that his mother told him to lie. She told him to say the keys were left for him, and that I had offered to let him drive the car. They had text messages to prove it. The judge was not amused. Karen's lawsuit was immediately thrown out. But that was the least of her problems. The district attorney picked up the case. False police report. Attempted fraud. Witness tampering. All because she couldn't accept that her son had committed a crime. The HOA board tried to quietly distance themselves from her, but it was too late. Emails came out showing she had pressured them to find me and remove my camera. The entire board was now under investigation. 3 weeks later, Karen was charged. And suddenly, the woman who had sued me for damages was begging for mercy. I got my insurance payout for the car. Karen got a court date. And her son? He ended up with a felony record that followed him everywhere. She had tried to destroy me. Instead, she destroyed her own family. By the time we finally walked into the courthouse, Karen no longer looked like the neighborhood tyrant. She looked scared. Her perfect hair was messy. Her posture, once stiff with entitlement, had collapsed into nervous fidgeting. Her son sat beside her, pale and silent, staring at the floor like he wanted to disappear. I almost felt bad. Almost. The judge wasted no time. Karen's lawsuit was officially dismissed, but the hearing wasn't about her suing me anymore. It was about her lying to the police, trying to frame me, and manipulating the HOA to punish an innocent homeowner. Her attorney tried to argue that she was just a stressed mother acting emotionally. The prosecutor stood up and dropped a stack of evidence on the desk. Doorbell footage, police body cam video, text messages between Karen and her son telling him to lie, HOA emails showing her pushing for fines and retaliation. There was nowhere left to hide. When the judge asked Karen if she wanted to speak, she did what Karens always do. She blamed everyone else. She blamed me for leaving keys unattended. She blamed the HOA for not protecting her family. She even blamed the police for escalating things. Then the judge said something that still makes me smile. "Ma'am, this entire situation only exists because your son committed a crime, and you tried to cover it up." Silence filled the courtroom. Karen's face turned bright red. The prosecutor requested charges for filing a false police report, obstruction of justice, and attempted fraud. The judge approved them all. Karen wasn't going to jail that day, but she was officially a criminal defendant now. As she was escorted out, she looked at me with pure hatred. I just nodded. Outside the courtroom, something even better happened. The HOA board members were waiting. Their lawyer pulled me aside and offered a settlement. They wanted to drop every fine, erase every violation, and pay my legal costs in exchange for me not suing them for harassment and retaliation. I said yes. 3 days later, I got a letter. The HOA had voted to remove Karen from all positions. She was banned from serving on the board permanently. The neighborhood gossip exploded. The woman who had ruled everyone with threats and fines was now toxic. No one would speak to her. No one wanted her involved in anything. Her son was transferred to a juvenile program and required to work to pay restitution. And me? My insurance paid out the full value of my car. I bought a better one, with a locked garage. Karen tried to ruin my life. Instead, she lost her power, her reputation, and her future. And every time I drive past her house, I smile. Life didn't go back to normal for Karen after court. It got worse. Word spread fast in a tight HOA neighborhood, and Karen's name became poison. The same neighbors who used to nod politely when she walked by now avoided her completely. People crossed the street to stay away from her. Parents warned their kids not to go near her house. Her power was gone. The HOA held a special meeting 1 week after the hearing. It was packed, not with supporters but with residents who were finally ready to speak. One by one, people stood up. Karen had threatened them with fake fines. Karen had bullied them into changing their yard. Karen had lied about rules that didn't exist. The board didn't even try to defend her. They voted unanimously to permanently bar her from any HOA position and issued a written apology to the entire neighborhood for letting her abuse her authority. Karen didn't attend. She couldn't. Because she had bigger problems. Her criminal case was moving forward, and the district attorney wasn't going easy. The evidence against her was airtight. Text messages, recordings, police reports, everything pointed to her deliberately trying to frame me and manipulate the system to save her son. Her lawyer eventually reached out to mine. They wanted a deal. Karen was willing to plead guilty in exchange for probation instead of jail time. She would have to pay fines, attend court-ordered counseling, and, most importantly, issue a written apology and financial restitution. My lawyer asked me one simple question. Do you want to push for jail? I thought about it. About waking up to an empty driveway. About being accused of crimes I didn't commit. About the stress, the fear, the anger. And then I said no. Not because she deserved mercy, but because probation would force her to live with what she'd done every single day. Karen pleaded guilty. She became a convicted criminal. Her son wasn't spared either. He was sentenced to a juvenile program, mandatory community service, and ordered to pay back a portion of the damages from the crash. Every paycheck he earned would go toward fixing what he destroyed. The irony? He ended up working at the same car wash that cleaned my new vehicle every weekend. He never looked at me. As for me, I finally bought another car, better than the first one. Upgraded model, upgraded security, upgraded peace of mind. I installed a full camera system around my house, not because I was afraid, but because I wanted everything documented. Karen tried to file a civil claim one last time months later, quietly, hoping I wouldn't notice. The judge shut it down in less than 10 minutes and warned her that any further attempts would result in contempt of court. That was the final nail. Now, Karen barely leaves her house. No one listens to her. No one fears her. The woman who once ruled the HOA like a dictator is now just another neighbor everyone avoids. And me? I got my money. I got my justice. And I got my peace. Every time I start my car and hear the engine hum, I'm reminded of one simple truth. Karens always think they're untouchable, until they pick the wrong person, and lose everything.